Good afternoon, students. Mr. Young here. So today's lesson is we're going to be working with 2.4 adding and subtracting decimals. Our standard is 6th grade number since A. And our objective is that by the end of this lesson, you will be able to add and subtract decimals and solve problems involving addition and subtraction of decimals. Our mathematical literacy, we have decimal, decimal point, add-ins, sum, difference, minuend, subtrahend, and place values. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, welcome students. So when we add and subtract decimals, I have 3 steps that I want you guys to follow. The first step is to line up your decimals. The second step is to add placeholders, which are zeros, just in case, if need be. And also just know that when you add placeholder zeros, it does not change the value of those numbers. And then the third step is to add and subtract. All right, we're going to do a quick review, and this should be a prerequisite when we go over your place values. To begin with, we always have a decimal point, okay? Now, on the left side of the decimal point, you have your ones place, your tens place, your hundreds place, your thousands place, 10,000ths place, 100,000ths place, millions place. And if you keep going to the left, you would go to infinity. All right, it'll just keep going on and on and on. Okay, on the right side of the decimal point, a little different. You have your tenths place, your hundredths place, your thousandths place, 10,000ths place, 100,000ths place, millionth place, and so on and so forth. So you should know your place values because they are going to be very important when we add and subtract decimals. All right, some quick vocabulary words. Now, when we do addition, when we add decimals, your add-ins, okay, your add-ins here are numbers that we add together. For an example, if we have the add-in 8 plus the add-in 8, we will get the sum 16. Now the sum, anytime you hear the word sum, that would be the answer to an addition problem. Moving on, for subtraction, your minuend would be the first number in the subtraction problem. In other words, it would be like the total of what you would have. Let's say, for example, I have 10 apples. Now, if I were to give away 3 apples, how many apples will be left? Okay, and your subtrahend is going to be the number that is to be subtracted. Okay, and the difference would be the answer to a subtraction problem. So 10 minus 3 is going to be 7. So the minuend 10 minus the subtrahend 3 will equal the difference 7. Same thing, the add-in 8 plus the add-in 8 equals the sum 16. Okay, quick review. Adding and subtracting decimals. One more time. First thing you do is line up your decimal points and all the decimal in the correct place values. And then if you need to, put placeholder zeros. Then you would add and subtract as the third step. All right, so with lesson 2.4, we're going to be adding decimals for our first problem. Now we have the add-in 7 and 82 hundredths plus the add-in 3 and 209 thousandths. The first thing we do is we're going to go ahead and align the decimal points. So I'll put a decimal point there and a decimal point here. Next, we're going to go ahead and write everything the way it is written. So 7 and 82 hundredths plus 3 and 209 thousandths. Now keep in mind that I want to keep everything exactly in order. That being said, what I want you guys to do is I prefer that you would use graphing paper. Okay, so that would work to keep everything in line. Now the second step is to go ahead and put placeholders in place. So keep in mind that putting a placeholder 0 there will not change the value of 7 and 8200ths. Now the next step is that we're going to go ahead and add. Okay, so from here we're going to add 0. Always start from the far right and work your way to the left. 0 plus 9 is going to be 9. 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry your 1. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And keep your decimal point, drop it down. Now 7 and 8200ths plus 3 and 209,000ths is going to equal the sum 11 and 29,000ths. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Next, we're going to go ahead, take this, move it across, and we're going to do a subtraction problem. Again, we're going to be subtracting decimals. So again, keep in mind that the minuend is the first number in the subtraction problem, and the subtrahend is the number that is being subtracted. And of course, the answer to a subtraction problem is called the difference. So let's go ahead and write this out. First thing we want to do is align our decimal points. Do that first. Next, we're going to go ahead and write the minuend. 4 and 58 hundredths, and the subtrahend 3 and 3 and 12 hundredths. All right, so again, third step is to subtract. Now 8 minus 2 is going to be 6. 5 minus 1 is going to be 4. Bring your decimal point straight down. 4 minus 3 is going to be 1. So again, the minuend 4 and 58 hundredths minus the subtrahend 3 and 12 hundredths is going to equal the difference 1 and 46 hundredths. All right, we're going to do 2 more problems. And if you don't have a graph paper, it's okay. I'm going to show you another way to use line paper, either wide ruled or college ruled paper. Alright, so if you have a line paper like so, all you're going to do is simply turn your paper 90 degrees, and guess what? You can use this now to go ahead and do your next problem. So our next problem we're going to have is going to be an addition problem. So we're going to add. The other problem we're going to do is a subtraction problem. So we're going to subtract. Okay, so from here we're going to write 12 and 829 thousandths plus 10 and 7 hundredths. Again, we're going to label this as an addend plus another addend, and that's going to be, we're going to find the sum. All right. So again, remember, an addend is basically numbers that we're going to be adding together. So let's go ahead and write this out. First thing we have is we have the addend. Oh, before we do that, let's align our decimal points. Now we can put in the addend 12 and 829 thousandths, and we're going to add that to 10 and 7 hundredths. Again, the second step is to add placeholders. So the empty spot right here is going to be a placeholder. And again, placeholders do not change the value of those numbers. So then simply the third step is to add. So 9 plus 0 is going to be 9. 2 plus 7 is going to be 9. 8 plus 0 is going to be 8. Decimal point. 2 plus 0 is going to be 2. 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. Now from here, we're going to read this as the addend 12 and 829
thousandths plus 10 7/7 is going to equal the sum 22 899 thousandths. All right, so the last number we're going to do is going to be 6 9800ths minus 2 614 thousandths. Okay, now again, we're going to label this as the minuend, and again, the minuend is going to be the first number in a subtraction problem. The second number we're going to label is going to be the subtrahend, and again, the subtrahend is going to be the number that is going to be subtracted. Okay. All right, so here we go. I'm going to write the minuend before we do that. Align your decimal points, then write the minuend 6 9800ths minus 2 614 thousandths. And again, the second step is to put the placeholder there. So go ahead and write the placeholder 0. And again, putting a placeholder does not change the value of the number. So from here, we're going to do simple subtraction. Okay, 0 take away 4. In this case, you have to borrow, so that 8 turns to 7 and bring that 10 there. Now 10 take away 4 is going to be 6. 7 minus 1 is going to be 6. 9 take away 6 is going to be 3. Your decimal point, 6 take away 2 is 4. Okay, now the difference is going to be 4 366 thousandths. So we'll read it as the minuend 6 9800ths minus the subtrahend 2 614 thousandths is going to equal the difference 4 366 thousandths. All right. So thank you guys for joining me today. Our lesson was to add and subtract decimals. By now you should be able to add decimals. You should also be able to subtract decimals, and also to evaluate expressions that involve subtraction and addition of decimals, and also to explain why it's necessary to always line up the decimal points when you add and subtract decimals. Thank you guys for joining me today. Have a good day. Make sure to get your math work done, and don't procrastinate. 2:30 to 3:30, same Zoom meeting ID as the class. Please join me for tutoring if you need help. See you then.